Why, hello there. And I'm here today. um, I lucked out. The espresso machine was back up at work, so I happen to be very much not exhausted. Sorry about the last 2 days, but yeah, I took a beating and needed the rest, and then the cats took advantage of that.
Yes, they did. They did.
As you can see, they're displeased.
Like, what is going on?
Uh, okay, so welcome to Web Presence Wednesday, even though we didn't do State of the Network Monday or Tribe Shadow Tuesday, and I really apologize for those things, but
It was needed.
what had to be, had to be.
To appease the fitness.
So, I did not really prepare myself for today or tomorrow, so I'm just going to kind of wing it. As we all know, I am still blocked from the Book of Faces. I have been posting a little bit more on Twitter, and you may have noticed that I've been mentioning a particular cryptocurrency that I've got a lot of, and I'm waiting for it to come up. A bit of a gamble, but since it was so cheap to get in, I don't really justify. I can't really not justify trying to take advantage of this. And yeah, that's the exciting news going on here. While on the subject of cryptocurrency, and I was talking about this last week, we really need to start as a community, as a network, start affiliating our businesses with things like cryptocurrency, things that maintain value despite what happens with the United States dollar. And I say that without any reservation because, quite frankly, you have to be not too bright to not notice that prices are going up all across the United States. The CPI is in a shambles. This winter is probably going to be particularly rough for those people who live in cold places because heating costs are probably going to be through the roof. And this is all really, I mean, it's not only due to, but this is all major in a major part due to government irresponsibility when it comes to printing money and when it comes to how they use the money that they did in fact print. In 2020, our March 2020, beginning of April, the federal government had passed the second COVID relief bill, second one, which would be the first one that involved giving anybody money that wasn't corporate interests of the federal government's, lackeys, or the lackeys that which the federal government is of, and with that came a large printing bill. I believe a quarter of the liquid money that is in circulation right now was printed in the last 18 months, and that's a problem. Monetarily, that's a problem. And to further deal with this problem, a politician came up with this bright idea of, oh, well, let's just tax unrealized capital gains, like they're a real thing that could possibly be taxed. That should just hint to you the economic illiteracy of the federal government and the extent at which they are looking to break the very few and far between rules that they still have yet to break. In other news, the stable coin market has seemed to have taken a giant shit on itself. And I can't assume that that isn't informed by what the federal government has been saying about cryptocurrency and how they plan on taxing unrealized capital gains, because the way the tax code works as far as cryptocurrency is concerned, and this is something that's very important, something you should research and talk to a CPA about, and not me, because I am not a professional. I'm just telling you what I've learned by reading the IRS website about it. Every time you do something other than put cash into and hold cryptocurrency is a taxable event. If you transfer one cryptocurrency to another, that's a taxable event. If you take cryptocurrency out as cash, that's a taxable event. If you lost $200 and then took cryptocurrency took cash out of your cryptocurrency, like took it out, said, this is going down the toilet, I'm going to take all my money back that's left of it. If you put 200 in and you got 100 back, they're going to tax that $100. The problem with taxing unrealized capital gains is then once they become realized, they become taxed again. And that's taxing twice. And that's not even the worst part about this. Not even the worst. Because the fact of the matter is if you have unrealized capital gains, that means that they're taxing you for money you don't have, in which case you may have to cash in your capital gains in order to pay that tax, which then incurs another tax. N'est-ce pas? And there's other things that accrue capital gains, like homes. Like if you are an individual business owner and your business becomes more valuable, if you are a publicly traded business and you own 51% of the stock because you're a publicly traded business, even if you have like 6 stocks, if your business is successful, people will seek out to buy those stocks and they'll become investors. When those stocks get bought, the value of the stocks go up, because supply demand, as the supply shrinks, if there's a stable demand and the supply is shrinking, the price is going to go up in order to make it so that only the ones who really, really, really want it are going to buy. And that would be unrealized capital gains. It's what they talk about when they say Elon Musk is worth $1 trillion or Jeff Bezos is worth $300 billion or whatever the fuck it is. It's not real money. It's the perceived value of their stock. So if Jeff Bezos is worth $300 million, but he has like 10 million in the bank, and they decide and over the course of the year, his stocks increase in value by a total of $1 billion, let's say. Let's be conservative here. That means that his capital gains, it's long term, so 20% of $1 billion is $200 million that he has to pay the government, despite the fact that he hasn't cashed out his stocks, which requires him to then cash out his stocks. Do you know what then happens? Well, the value of his stock goes down, which requires him to cash out more stocks, which then drives down the price of his stocks, which then requires him to cash out more stocks. And sooner or later, what ends up happening is all of the big financial players that are in industry are just going to get out, because it's just better to pay the tax once and live off of the money that you have. If there's something you want, you just pay for it directly, and that's it. You don't start a business or make it so that anybody else who might want it might be able to purchase it. Which then opens up a whole other can of worms when it comes to economic theory of where do we go from here, because then the billionaires become completely untaxable because a wealth tax is completely and unequivocally unconstitutional. There's the problem is that you can't specify people who have a certain amount of property or wealth have to pay a tax based on the amount of property or wealth that they have. It's not part of what the federal government can do. So, how to tank an economy 101. You want to completely impoverish an entire nation's worth of people. This is what you do. This is economic terrorism. I mean, the CIA did it all across South America, and now the United States government is just doing it here to us. There are ways around this, and what I am about to share is not financial advice, and I am not telling you what to do with your money. But acting with a private wallet, a hard wallet that is offline, and transferring money for goods and services via blockchain use is pretty much your only option at that point, because if you don't have a record of having 5 Bitcoin, if Bitcoin goes up by 100% over a year, you're not being taxed on the full value of the Bitcoin that you bought. Basically, you're not getting taxed, half of what you have. Which, if it was less than a year, it gets stacked on top of your income. You easily go to a 39% tax rate, which is especially pernicious, because what ends up happening is people like you and me, we do short-term investing because we can't really afford to let large sums of money sit for long periods of time. It's just not something we're capable of doing. Financially, we have to have liquidity, because if you're not rich, you have to have liquidity. You can't tie stuff up in property or in financial investments. So what ends up happening is this method of taxation really attacks the middle class trying to break out of being the middle class. Because if you make $50,000 a year, you're in a tax bracket that pays 12%. And if you make $50,000 a year in unrealized capital gains, because you bought Bitcoin and it shot up to you bought 1 Bitcoin and it shot up to $100,000, and now you have $50,000 of unrealized capital gains. That $50,000 gets added onto your $50,000 and gives you a grand total of, I think it's 24% or 23% tax bracket. And that's just, it's not a good thing, to being forced to pay more taxes. And that's that. So, absolutely, if you are dealing in crypto and dealing with buying and selling goods and services and whatnot in the digital world, do not assume that nobody knows what you're doing. Assume that the IRS has full knowledge of everything that you're doing and all of your transactions, especially with what is being proposed around the Capitol nowadays about the IRS being able to see all the transactions that happen in your account, so long as you've breached $600 in transactions. This is definitely another attempt at the federal government to monopolize all of the workforce, all of the business force into these mega corporations, and get rid of every single small business that they can and make it so that nobody can escape the employer-employee relationship, because that is the yoke that which the government really holds us by. They can't let you escape. They can't let you have a good life. You have to suffer, because if you suffer, then they can save you from it with breadcrumbs, and you'll be thankful for it. You'll have nothing and you'll be happy. I'm sure everyone has heard that phrase. That's what they're planning. That's the way things are moving. If they're not planning it, that is absolutely going to be the result of it, regardless of what they're planning. I can look at my cat's butt in my glasses. So there's that. Absolutely. If you have a business, if you are doing stuff on the side for cash, whatnot, or digital currency, get in touch with a CPA, get in touch with a tax professional. Don't get in touch with, hi, Steve. Don't get in touch with places like H&R Block. Like, go to an actual tax professional and see what they can do as far as getting as much of the tax burden off of your shoulders as possible, because the things that are coming down the pipeline, things that the federal government is saying is not looking good for anybody who is not either completely destitute and living hand to mouth or exorbitantly wealthy. Those people are protected. Everybody in the middle, like us, we're screwed. That we're going to be the real victims here. And that's generally usually how it goes, is they introduce new taxes. The large corporations have their tax shelters. The exorbitantly wealthy have their tax shelters, and the especially poor don't make enough money to be taxed. Hi, Vinny, how you doing? And in the end, no one should use that. That is absolutely correct, Steve. No one should use H&R Block. But that was an example right off the top of my head of don't go to these people. Go to an actual CPA with their own private office, if only because you will get a better answer that is more in line with attempting to avoid as much taxation as possible, especially if you're somewhere in the middle of those two extremes in income, because you're the one that's going to get raped here. It's not going to be the billionaires or the millionaires even. It's going to be the people who are surviving or getting just enough ahead to get savings so that they may be able to retire at some point in time in their lives. Those people are the people that they're really looking to victimize, because you can't be allowed to retire. That breaks the system. I know it's part of the American dream that, you work your job, you have your wife, you have your 2.5 kids, you have your garage, and then, at the ripe old age, I guess now of fucking 72, which is kind of ridiculous as all hell.
That carrot on the stick,
I remember back when it was 55. I mean, shit. But now, 70 fucking 2, and then you get to spend the last 8 years of your life in and out of fucking hospitals and fucking eating pudding. And they're trying to even take that away from those of us in the middle. And it's because you have to suffer, because the more you suffer, the more the majority of the people suffer, the easier it is for those in power to take liberties with your person, with your possessions, because they sell you on the idea that, we're going after the bad guys now, and it turns out you're the bad guy, because God fucking forbid you might want to do something other than work until you die. At this point, I made a what would be considered a reckless investment if it wasn't so cheap to invest in it, in order to potentially escape the employer-employee relationship. I had been doing investments in myself, investments in my own businesses. Uh, um, I created the network in order to help with those investments as well as help other people. Um, yeah, absolutely. Uh, it's all about taking away freedom for as far as the government is concerned. There's no even illusion that that's not the case anymore. I try to explain to people. I'm like, you do realize that we've had a fascist government ever since the term was coined. It's never been so bold as it is now. But anyway, as I was saying, I've been trying to escape this employer-employer relationship by starting my own ventures. I started the network to help advertise those as well as other people's ventures in order to also help them. I'm very big on we all come up together. I don't want to leave anybody behind that doesn't deserve it. But in the end, what we end up with is it becomes a survival tactic, and I made, as I was saying before, now that I'm back on track, I made what would be considered a risky investment. But since I could afford it and I could afford to lose it, it didn't matter to me, and it seems to be panning out. Maybe, possibly. Um, well, the girl cat's right here on the desk because I got rid of the keyboard. I put it down underneath. Maybe she'll come here. Come here. Come here. Oh, here she is, the chunkus. And my buddy boy, I don't know where he's hiding. He might be looking out the window at the lizards. But yeah, so again, like I said, it may or may not turn out. Things are still really up in the air with that. But maybe by the end of the year, I'll be in a position where I can just walk away. That isn't like going to be the end of me though. That's there she goes. That's going to be a way for me to move forward from having to worry about my 9 to 5, even though it's not 9 to 5, it's more like 4 to 12:30, but whatever. But instead, it's focused more on educating people on how to cut their costs of living down as much as humanly possible with as little effort as possible. My plan is to get myself someplace and then get myself situated in a sustainable sense. So no electric bill, no or minimal food bill, and if there's any bill whatsoever, if it can be barter. I'd be more than open to trade, food or what have you for food and whatnot, because you can't grow everything, Thank you, Diamond.
You're welcome, Harry.
So, that's a long ways down the road. We're not talking about tomorrow or next week. Hopefully, sometime in the next calendar year, maybe. I'm really starting to process on that. So, that's something down the horizon. But it's a trap. This whole thing is a trap. The best thing that you can do is get in business for yourself, get smart, safe investments going, and try to do them with as little oversight as humanly possible, and get yourself in contact with a CPA and get some real advice from somebody who is more well versed in tax law than some jackass who sat there and read the IRS's website. Um, because things that are coming down the pipeline may not be so great that even what I'm doing might not even be considered a feasible thing with what they're planning on as far as taxing unrealized capital gains and shit like that. It's just a level of insanity that I can't even fathom. It's right up there with that fucking wealth tax. It's psychotic to even think that that's something that should be on the table. I think there should be a politician tax because, not for nothing, you have a bunch of people who are making, $100 and something thousand a year, but they're all multimillionaires. And it happened while they were serving in Congress. Maybe we should be taxing those people because obviously they are benefiting from the system far greater than anybody else is. So I think that's all I got today. Unless Donna's got something to add. No.
I think you covered everything.
Yeah. Just remember, nobody pays taxes voluntarily.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind. It's always coming at the point of a gun. So just like with fascism, it's the duty of a responsible person to resist. Do with that what you will. I'm gonna go get some food.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for coming by. We greatly appreciate you. We're here for you. We will be back tomorrow for Theory Thursday. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet, but I'm sure I will come up with something. Yeah, there's that, I guess. Have a great day. Bye.